Good evening. I would like to call to order the June 1st, 2026 Lake Washington School Board meeting. Let the record reflect that we have 4 board directors present. Director Meekhoff is excused this evening. And we have 2 of our student representatives, Sarah and Humsini. The board values public participation and engagement in the meetings of the board. Board meetings will continue to be live streamed on the LWSD website and are available for viewing following the conclusion of the board meeting as well. The public are always welcome to email the board at boardmembers@lwsd.org. Director Yoakum, would you like to read our land acknowledgement tonight?
Yes. The Board of Directors of Lake Washington School District acknowledges that our district is on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish peoples, who have reserved treaty rights on this land, including the Duwamish and the Snoqualmie Indian tribe. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived here since time immemorial. We commit to continue collaborating with our Native community to teach the indigenous history of this land and these local tribes to all children of the district. We also commit to provide the best possible education for all children of Native descent who attend our schools.
I will now entertain a motion to approve the June 1st, 2026 agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Yoakum to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We have a couple of recognitions this evening. We are going to start with a recognition for Juneteenth. Director LaLiberty.
My pleasure. The Lake Washington School District Board of Directors recognizes Juneteenth and its significant historical, cultural, and societal importance in the United States. Observed annually on June 19, June 19th commemorates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans and symbolizes the nation's ongoing pursuit of freedom, equality, and justice. Juneteenth serves as a reminder of the resilience, strength, and contributions of the Black community throughout history and today. It also provides an opportunity to reflect on the continued work necessary to build a society free from racial inequalities and oppression. The Lake Washington School District proudly recognizes Juneteenth as a formal district holiday in honor of those who came before us, in celebration of those who continue to advance equity and inclusion today, and in support of a more just and inclusive future for all students, staff, families, and community members.
Thank you. And our next recognition is our PTSA scholarships. Dr. Holman.
So I'd like to invite, I think, one of our presidents, Brooke, up to the microphone to share with you information about PTSA scholarships and those students and staff who have been awarded. And I was also notified that I would be stepping down from the dais and handing out certificates this evening. So I'll move down to the floor to do that.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Lake Washington PTSA Council, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our scholarship reception. I am Dr. Brooke Galapsos, and I am one of the co-presidents. Our other co-president, I'm putting you on the spot, Colleen McCloskey. Go ahead, raise your hand. That's Colleen. She's fabulous. Tonight, we will celebrate the dedication, perseverance, and achievements of our outstanding high school students. This event is not only about recognizing academic success, but also about honoring commitment to community, leadership, and future potential. We are proud to support and encourage these remarkable young people as they take the next step in their journeys. To our scholarship recipients, your hard work, dedication, and perseverance have brought you here, and we are excited to see all that you will accomplish in the years ahead. Thank you to our parents, guardians, families, educators, and community members for your continued support. We are honored to be a small part of this tremendous milestone in the lives of these inspiring students, and we wish you all the very best. I will now turn the microphone over to the scholarship co-chair, who is also me. I even had a hat to distinguish, but I was worried then about what that would do. So, as the scholarship co-chair, I am pleased to introduce the recipients of the 2026 scholarship program. These students and staff have accomplished amazing things, and I'm excited to share more about these inspiring individuals. We will begin with our staff scholarships. Our first staff scholarship recipient is Bella Chavez. As a teacher who grew up in this district and now serves the same community, Bella is honored to receive the scholarship supporting her graduate studies. She works at John Muir Elementary, is currently enrolled in the Master of Education program at the University of Washington Bothell's School of Educational Studies with a focus in critical educational change and leadership. Her coursework is already strengthening her ability to design instruction that honors students' identities, supports multilingual learners, and builds belonging. Please join us in congratulating Bella. And you're going to smile for Colleen. You're our first group, so. Thank you. Our next staff scholarship recipient is Alex Watanabe, I practiced, Alex Watanabe, who is currently on paternity leave after welcoming his third baby. Alex is an English teacher at Lake Washington High School and is pursuing his educational doctorate in educational leadership. And in his essay, he said he wanted to model for his children the belief that learning does not have an end point and that education is worth pursuing to its highest possible level. In addition to modeling the importance of continuous learning, he is studying academic leadership with the goal of becoming a better teacher and is focused on increasing student autonomy, belonging, and competence in the classroom in order to foster internal motivation. Please join us in congratulating Alex. Our next staff scholarship recipient is unable to be here tonight, but the recipient of the Howard Mawhinney Scholarship for the Advancement of Special Education is Ruhi Mabu. She's currently a paraeducator at Ella Baker Elementary, and working as a paraeducator has strengthened her passion for supporting students and helping every child feel capable, included, and successful at school. This experience is what inspired her to pursue her master's degree in special education so she can continue to advocate for and empower students with diverse learning needs. Although she is not present tonight, please join me in congratulating Ruhi. I will now present our student scholarship recipients, beginning with our Perseverance Scholarship winner. This award is given to a student who is a well-rounded community member and can show excellence in their life and their academics in the face of hardships or a challenging life circumstance. Our recipient of the Perseverance Scholarship is Sanjay Midikirthi, and I do not believe Sanjay is here. Is Sanjay here? Okay. So she is a senior at Lake Washington High School who also pursued opportunities through the WANIC program in Running Start. Through high school, she held several leadership positions, including the president of her WANIC HOSA chapter and ASB freshman class president. She is the founder of WAVE Seattle, which is a nonprofit organization under the Seattle Children's Hospital that has raised over $32,000 for cancer research through community partnerships and outreach efforts. She works with the University of Washington Medicine Alzheimer's Disease Research Center and will attend University of Washington studying data science with a minor in neuroscience. Sanjana is also attended Ben Rush Elementary School and Rose Hill Middle School. She is unable to attend tonight, but please join me in congratulating her. The next recipient is also unable to join tonight, but this next scholarship is the Lake Washington Education Association T. Lee Scholarship, which is presented to a student planning on pursuing a career in the field of education. This year's recipient is Cambria Ballou. Cambria has known she's wanted to be a teacher ever since she was in elementary school and would teach her younger sister what she was learning in school. One of her most meaningful experiences was working at a daycare program where she discovered her love for working with young children. This fall, she will attend Western Washington University to study early childhood education, and she also previously went to Thoreau Elementary and Finn Hill Middle School. Please join me in congratulating Cambria. Also, I just have to say that Kirkland Rotary holds their thing the same night, and they are on it, and they get these people first. So that's where she is. So just not at all bitter. Our next scholarship recipient is given to a student planning to attend a 2-year vocational or technical school. This year's recipient is also unable to attend, and it is Ben Holman. So Ben attended Horace Mann Elementary and Redmond Middle School, was a varsity wrestler and track and field athlete at Redmond High School, where he served as a wrestling team captain his senior year and qualified for the 2026 4A State Wrestling Tournament. He also completed 2 years of the Wanet Core Plus construction program, gaining hands-on experience through real-world construction projects. One highlight in his high school experience was leading a team in building a tiny home build for individuals with housing insecurity. Ben plans to attend Bismarck State College in North Dakota, where he will study construction management and residential carpentry while continuing his wrestling career at the collegiate level. And I think we should take a picture of Dr. Holman with the certificate. What do we all think? Yeah? Let's do it. So be sure you smile for Colleen. Open it up. There you go. Sorry. That's what happens when I get the microphone. Our next set of scholarships are for merit, which includes academic achievement, community service, extracurricular participation, and leadership. 2 awards are given per learning community, and a student's learning community is determined by their home address. Our first set of merit scholarships are for the East Lake Learning Community, and our first recipient is Anshul Batwara. We are actually here, so that is exciting, from Tesla STEM High School. She is graduating as a civic leader, lacrosse captain, and 8-year ASB officer. She spent high school splitting her weeks between Sammamish and Oak Harbor on Whidbey Island, helping run her family's child care center. Her notable achievements include founding Whidbey Island's first youth court, directing the first student-led civic education summit at the state capitol in the 70-year history of the Association of Washington Student Leaders, drawing 250 students from across the state and raising $65,000. And building FAFSA Ready, which is a congressional app challenge tool that helps students from underrepresented and rural communities navigate FAFSA. In terms of STEM, her most memorable moment was her 11th grade research project, developing a low-cost voice and vision controlled prosthetic that won first in state and second at the Central Sound Regional Science and Engineering Fair. She was the only student from the district named a United States Senate Youth Program finalist and will be attending UC Berkeley. Previously, she has attended Carson Elementary and Inglewood Middle School. Please join me in congratulating Anshul. Our next recipient is also from East Lake High School. Over the past 4 years, Anastasia Kanakasbeson, did I get it? Kanakasbeson. Kanakasa Basin. Okay, I'm sorry, Anastasia, but I know you. Enjoyed pursuing her curiosity for humanities through memorable AP classes like AP World History and AP African American Studies, while also using her voice for advocacy to improve Lake Washington School District's standardized humanities curriculum. At the same time, she was able to experience formative moments in pushing her intellectual curiosity by taking AP Calculus, which led her to want to pursue a math major. She's been able to use her voice through song as a member of Eastlake Choir and advocated for the arts within the district. Anastasia will be attending the University of Washington, Seattle as a presidential scholar under pre-sciences major and previously attended Blackwell and Carson Elementary Schools as well as Inglewood Middle School. Please join me in congratulating Anastasia. Our next two recipients are from the Juanita Learning Community. The first is Ryan Brackett from Juanita High School. Ryan attended Sandburg Elementary, Finn Hill Middle School, and will be graduating from Juanita High School this month. Ryan will be attending Cal Poly in St. Louis Obispo in the fall to pursue a degree in business economics. Ryan currently is ASB Senior Class President and served in ASB for the past 3 years. He is active in clubs and athletics and has served the Kirkland community through organizations such as Kirkland Youth Council, Teen Link, Crisis Connection, and Heads Up Clubs. So here's the thing, Ryan is not able to attend, but Ryan's dad, Scott, is here to accept this award on Ryan's behalf. So let's give him a round of applause. Our next recipient is Melody Sakia from ICS. Melody has enjoyed studying roller coaster design, traveling to debate competitions around the world, and even living on a ship for 3 days, which I really want to hear more about. Melody also loves trying new things, from fencing and line dancing to indoor skydiving and electric unicycling. She's excited to go on more adventures in the next 4 years at MIT, where she will explore the intersection between art and technology. In addition to attending ICS for middle and high school, Melody previously attended Horace Mann, Redmond, and Albert Einstein elementary schools. Please join me in congratulating Melody. Moving now to the Lake Washington Learning Community, our first recipient is Jessie King from Lake Washington High School. Jessie is unable to attend. She is out of town for something extracurricular related. But Jessie previously attended Ben Rush Elementary School, Rose Hill Middle School, and will be graduating from Lake Washington High School. She feels she owes so much of her high school experience to who she is now. It changed her from a shy kid to someone who is able to lead in the community. She served as a president of ASB, DECA, and Key Club. She found her own style of leading, which is to create meaningful connections with multitudes of people. In her community, she volunteers at New Bethlehem Place Shelter, Renewal Food Bank, where she heard stories and perspectives that taught her to see the world with compassion. She's going to study human-computer interaction at Carnegie Mellon and is excited for what the future holds. Please join me in congratulating Jessie, even though she is not here. Sorry, my pages are sticking. The next recipient is Samantha Scott from Lake Washington High School. Samantha attended Mark Twain Elementary, Kirkland Middle School. At Lake Washington High School, though, she has competed as a varsity cross-country runner for 4 years, captaining the team during her senior year. Sammy is a member of both National Honor Society and Link Crew and has served as secretary for both. With over 100 volunteer hours, she enjoys helping out at her home elementary school and coaching youth soccer. She has also spent many hours shadowing a physical therapy clinic and will be attending University of Oregon Honors College, majoring in human physiology next year. Please join me in congratulating Samantha. In the Redmond learning community, our first recipient is Amy Liu. Amy previously attended Horace Mann, Redmond Elementary, and Albert Einstein, as well as Redmond Middle School. The highlight of Amy's high school years was being part of many different communities like DECA and National Honor Society, of which she served as president, and making lasting memories and friendships with them. She ran cross country and track and field all throughout high school and accumulated many proud PRs over the years. She is excited to attend Cornell University in the fall. Please join me in congratulating Amy, who is here. Our next recipient, Jenna Yeckley, is also from the Redmond Learning Community. Jenna is unable to be here tonight, but participated in varsity golf for 4 years at Redmond High School, got a hole-in-one her freshman year at a district tournament, which was the highlight of her golf career. She did varsity cheer for 3 years, was the captain her senior year, participated in several clubs, her favorite being Key Club, where she got the opportunity to volunteer around her community and be vice president of the club. She plans to attend Cal Poly in the fall, majoring in business administration with a minor in architecture. Jenna previously attended Rockwell Elementary and North Star Middle School. Please join me in congratulating Jenna, although she's unable to attend. So our last 2 recipients are receiving our at-large scholarship. The first one goes to Kimberly Ong from Redmond High School. Kimberly attended Rosa Parks and Alcott Elementary Schools, as well as Timberline Middle School. Throughout her 4 years at Redmond High, she loved being a part of the school community, from debate captain to NHS vice president to varsity athletics. She's a Girl Scout of 9 years and is proud to have recently earned her Girl Scout Gold Award by organizing an annual art gallery at a local senior center. She's passionate about art, earning both state and international recognition for her paintings. Kimberly is looking forward to continuing her education at University of Washington with the goal of developing assistive and rehabilitative robotics. She will be studying computer engineering and joining the interdisciplinary honors program. Please join me in congratulating Kimberly. And our final scholarship recipient, Mabel Wong from Lake Washington High School, is unable to be here tonight. She attended Audubon Elementary and Rose Hill Middle School. She has been given many opportunities to learn and grow throughout her time and is very grateful to have been able to explore her passions and interests through taking challenging STEM classes and joining clubs and organizations like National Honor Society, HOSA, and Red Cross Club. Outside of school, she has grown her passion for medicine through her volunteer work at Evergreen Health and as a server at a retirement home. Even though she is unable to be here, she plans to attend the University of Washington this fall to major in neuroscience on the pre-med track. Although unable to attend, please join me in congratulating Mabel. Now I'm almost done, but I still have to say a few words. I want to thank all of the team of judges for the hours they spent. A special shout out to Denise Ferguson, who is here, as well as Elena Sellers and Andrea Stopanini for redacting all the applications. I want to say a special thank you to Shishmita for all of her help. And because I have the ability to hold you hostage right now, and because I have the microphone, I just need to tell you something very important, and don't look nervous, Dr. Holman. I am sharing these next words with you students as a college professor, as a freshman faculty advisor, and a scholarship judge who read all 50 of the applications this year, but also as a parent. As you begin this next chapter in your lives, I beg you to remember the importance of self-care and wellness. College is going to bring new challenges and opportunities, and taking care of your mental, physical, and emotional well-being will be absolutely essential to your success. Make time to rest, exercise, incorporate mindful practices, build supportive relationships, and seek balance as you pursue your goals. Remember to prioritize yourself and that taking time to care for yourself is never selfish. It is necessary. Toxic productivity is not sustainable, and more importantly, it is not enjoyable. So make space for sleep and things that bring you happiness so that you can refresh your mind and lower your stress. Remember to enjoy these moments. Not everything that should be done needs to be a resume builder. Make sure you are laughing, you are living, and making memories that will fuel your soul. In 15 years of being a professor, I can promise you that the students who embrace balance and self-care leave college energized, excited, and fulfilled rather than burnt out. Mistakes, setback, disappointment, and the F word, failure, are vital for growth as students and humans. So during your lifelong learning process, I want to remind you it is okay to ask for help. It is okay not to know something or everything, and it is okay to not be okay. So please be kind to yourself. Remember to slow down, enjoy life, and congratulations on all of your achievements, and best of luck to you all.
So typically we'd have you stay up here and we'll do pictures. I'm actually gonna, maybe you don't wanna stay up here for the next 4.5 minutes. So if you sit down, we're gonna take a break. In about 5 minutes, we'll ask you to come back and our staff recipients so that we can get pictures. But I have 2 more recognitions that I'm gonna do. So thank you. You go find your seats and we'll keep doing a couple recognitions. Of course we can give it to someone who just arrived.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is the Perseverance Scholarship winner, which is given to a student who is a well-rounded community member and can show excellence in their life and their academics in the face of hardship and challenging life circumstances. So Sanjana is here. Where are you? Hi, I didn't get to meet you before. Hi, come on up. So Sanjana is a senior at Lake Washington High School who pursued opportunities through the WANIC program, Running Start at Bellevue. Throughout high school, she's held several leadership positions, including president of her WANIC HOSA chapter and ASB freshman class president. She is the founder of WAVE Seattle, a nonprofit organization under Seattle Children's that raised over $32,000 for cancer research. She also works with the University of Washington Medicine, and this fall will attend University of Washington, where she plans to study data science with a minor in neuroscience. She attended Ben Rush Elementary School and Rose Hill Middle School. Please join me in congratulating Sanjana.
So I'm actually going to ask Colleen and Brooke to both come up. And in your final role, maybe not final, because I know you have another meeting to come up, but in one of your final tasks, the 2 of you are going to have to figure out how to divide up one bouquet. But shame on me. But truly, I want to take a moment to recognize our PTA Council presidents. We typically have a rotation where someone has been on for a year, and then so you always have a bit of history in the presidency. And the 2 of you took this on, and you took it on with diligence, with heart, with passion, and you've done such a tremendous job. It has been such a privilege to get to know the 2 of you over this year, and you've done such a great job in leading the PTA Council. You've looked for ways to improve. You've looked for ways to sustain, and your leadership has really been beneficial to the entire school district. I know my team and I appreciate the partnership that we've had over the year, and I wish you the best of luck with this. So, no, thank you. Yeah.
We have one more recognition, which is the WASA Community and Student Leadership Awards. Dr. Holman.
Okay, and I thought it would be appropriate to share these with PTA in the room, with students in the room. Every year, the State Association for Administrators in Washington hosts events all throughout the state. We are part of WASA 110, so that's our region, essentially the Puget Sound region. And school districts get to nominate a community leadership award and a student leadership award. And I wanted to share those with you this evening. And so the leadership award really is to recognize students who lead initiatives promoting inclusivity, access, and social justice in their school and community. Recipients demonstrate strong collaboration, integrity, and a commitment to inspire others. And we were so privileged to honor, and we actually heard a mention of them earlier today, or earlier this evening. We recognized the 3 youth councils that serve our 3 cities, Kirkland, Redmond, and Sammamish. I have the honor of meeting with these young people, and it's actually a group of about 20 youth council members. I meet with them 3 to 4 times a year. And a couple of things. They're some of the most thoughtful people I get to meet with. I mean, they truly think deeply about their schools, their community, the work that they do in volunteerism, working to make their communities a better place for young and old. And it is just really tremendous. It's fun to see these students kind of grow over the years, but like everybody else, they get a little bit of senioritis. But it was a privilege to honor them this year. I don't know how they balance all of the work they do on the youth councils with school and life, and just such a tremendous honor to be able to recognize these group of young people. So they're not here tonight, but I just wanted to recognize them in front of their peers for the work that they do. So thank you to our Kirkland, Redmond, Sammamish youth councils. The second award we nominated was for the WASA Community Leadership Award. This award honors community members or organizations that make outstanding contributions to education, showing leadership cooperation with local school districts and a sustained history of service benefiting students. And this is really a long time coming award. Probably many of the students in the room have engaged in activities related to sustainability, green teams, and that kind of work. Much of that work has been built and sustained by our PTAs over the year. And so over the years, we were proud of our board to adopt policy related to sustainability. The school district just recently finalized a sustainability plan. We're building out a roadmap that has timelines associated with that. And so we thought it just so appropriate to recognize the Lake Washington PTSA Sustainability Committee for our WASA Leadership Award. And so we recognize them with their chair of that committee. And so just a huge thanks to PTA for everything you've done in this space. Thanks for waiting for us to catch up with your passion, your diligence, and your vision for what we can do related to sustainability and resource conservation management. So again, please join me in thanking PTSA for their leadership in sustainability.
Thank you. We will take a brief 5-minute recess in order to take pictures of our scholarship winners. Congratulations, and we'll return at 7:39 p.m. The next item on the agenda will be public comment. The Board of Directors of Lake Washington School District welcomes the public to the business meetings of the board and encourages community engagement. The board dedicates 30 minutes to hear from the public during the public comment portion of the meeting, with each individual provided up to 2 minutes to speak. Participants should not expect a response from the board at the end of their comments, as we dedicate this time to listening to your voice and would like to get as many members of the public an opportunity to speak as the time allows. If you have materials you would like distributed to the board, please leave them in the basket next to the podium. Each speaker will be called to the podium in the order of sign up. A timer will appear on the screen showing your remaining time. When you have 30 seconds left, the timer will turn yellow to let you know you're nearing the end. When 10 seconds remain, the timer will turn red as a signal to wrap up your remarks. Please note that the microphone will be turned off shortly after your time expires, so we ask all speakers to conclude when their time is complete. I'd also like to remind everyone here this evening that this opportunity to engage in dialogue is also an opportunity to model respectful discourse to our students and our community. We ask that the audience refrain from commenting and from prolonged applause following each comment, as it takes up time and prevents us from listening to as many speakers as we can fit into our dedicated 30 minutes. Once the public comment portion of our business meeting concludes, we ask that everyone who is not interested in listening to the rest of the agenda items exit quietly and in an orderly fashion so that we can continue the rest of our meeting. Members of the public can sign up to participate on the district website. Sign up closes at noon on the day of the board meeting, and comments will be offered in the order of sign up. Speakers can designate another person to speak in their place in advance of the noon deadline, but speaker substitutions at the meeting unfortunately cannot be accommodated. As a reminder, the board does not discuss personnel matters at board meetings. Members of the community are encouraged to attempt to resolve issues with teachers, school principals, or other district personnel before bringing issues to the board. Additionally, speakers should refrain from naming students unless they are the parent or guardian of said student. Also, if you are here for public comment on the property surplus resolution, we will have that public comment period later in the evening. Public comment will now begin at 7:47 p.m. The first speaker is Kendall Campana.
Hi, can I start? Okay. I'm here to express my concern regarding the continued reduction of staffing allocations across our schools and how these impact on decisions have had further impacts on students and educational opportunities. While I understand the financial challenges facing our district, the loss of FTE positions is forcing schools to make difficult choices about programs and services. As FTE shrinks, schools are being forced to make more difficult decisions about which programs can be maintained. Often, elective programs suffer when staffing is reduced. While cuts may begin with a single position, the cumulative effect is a gradual narrowing of the educational experience available to students. Elective courses, including arts, leadership, world languages, and family consumer sciences, help students discover and develop collaboration, communication, and problem-solving skills. Research consistently shows that these programs increase student engagement, attendance, and connection to school. At a time when schools are working to address mental wellness and chronic absences, reducing accesses to these opportunities appears counterproductive to many of the goals that we're striving to achieve. While recent staffing reductions may not have been intentional to be directed towards targeting elective programs, many educators view the impact as part of a broader pattern in which electives become increasingly vulnerable whenever FTE is reduced. This raises questions about the long-term goal for maintaining diverse learning opportunities for students. It was especially hard to see the future vision when the timing of these reductions coincided with the district's emphasis on the importance of well-rounded educational experiences that foster creativity, critical thinking, and student success. Educators work hard to provide these opportunities, yet reductions increasingly limit buildings' abilities to do so. I respectfully ask that the district leadership consider the long-term impact of continued FTE reductions on elective programming, that we explore ways to preserve these opportunities and provide greater transparency regarding the district's vision moving forward. Our students deserve to access to these programs that support creativity, personal growth, and meaningful connections to their schools. Thank you so much for your time.
The next speaker is Rich Butler. Is Rich Butler here? All right, the next speaker is Carly Vermeulen.
Hello, my name is Carly Vermeulen. I'm a middle school math teacher teaching Safety Net 7th grade, Safety Net Algebra, and I co-teach an algebra class for students receiving special education services in math. I am also the parent of an elementary student currently receiving special education services. I am here to express my concern regarding the lack of math support at the elementary level within our district. Currently, there is no safety net or comparable intervention program for elementary math. In other words, there is no FTE allotted for additional student-teacher support for math. Rather, our model hires MTSS coaches to guide already overbooked classroom teachers on how to perform interventions. Each year, we see many sixth graders entering middle school without mastery of foundational math skills, including basic multiplication facts. Without intervention in elementary school, these students begin middle school already behind and are already expected to keep pace with their foundational skills. Many students enter middle school behind and are immediately placed in 6+, 7+, and then algebra as 8th graders, and struggle the entire time as noted on their FastBridge. This year in algebra at our school, not a single student who was flagged for safety net passed algebra. As an interventions teacher, this is difficult to witness, and as a parent of a neurodivergent child, it's terrifying. It's unrealistic to expect general education teachers alone to provide intensive, individualized interventions while also meeting the needs of an entire class. I see students crying after tests, scared to go home from a bad grade, defeated and giving up in algebra. If the district is going to force students to take 9th grade algebra as an 8th grader, wouldn't it make sense to at least offer programs and interventions in K through 5 to give them a better chance, especially our ELL and low-income families? Our struggling learners deserve early support and equitable access to interventions before academic gaps become overwhelming. As a district, we can do better for these students. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jamie Snowden.
Nice to see you all again. I brought my emotional support student so that we can see what a little guy looks like, because we just saw the big ones go. Good evening. Thank you for allowing for us to speak. I'm going to begin with a direct quote from one of our rising 12th graders at ICS, who says that the district is not with us in terms of our school safety. We've heard again that our beloved school security personnel, Zach Aquino, he just won our school's PTSA Outstanding Educator Award, by the way. We heard that he's going to have his position cut and he's going to be moved again, which would leave us with a really small amount of FTE for school security. And I just wanted to remind everybody that our campus houses an elementary school, right? A middle school and a high school, and we don't even have a dean. So Zach is a really big deal for us. In addition, we're going to be growing over 25% next year, and our middle school and high school alone are going to be well over 500 students, and we won't have a full FTE for security, which is a big problem. Just this year, Zach has responded to 597 incidents during the school day, and that doesn't even account for things like the fender benders and the hit and runs that happen in the parking lot, or the can of mace that just went off in a school classroom. And our question here is that, are we suggesting that it's going to be up to the teachers to handle this? Because that's 600 incidents, and it's not even the end of the school year yet. So I'm here to just urge you to really consider leaving our school security where it's at. We love Zach. We don't want him to go anywhere. And while the economy might be unpredictable, so are emergency situations. We're currently debating the cost of security, but I want to say that we can't afford to discover the cost of not having security when we need it. And let's just prove my original student wrong and say that the district is with us at ICS. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Cameron Brandy.
As my colleague said, here we find ourselves again a year later. We had this conversation last year where all of us we poured our hearts out and explained why Zach Aquino is such a critical member of our community. And, you know, I didn't know if we would be heard, but I was heartened to see that we were. The district listened. We made what I felt was the right decision, and you kept Zach Aquino at our school, and we all breathed a collective sigh of relief. And I was extremely grateful for that, which is why now I'm upset, and we're all upset, those of us that are here in solidarity with Zach Aquino, because we find ourselves in the same situation and in the exact same way, a sort of 11th hour at the end of the school year communication. This major change is happening to your little school, where changes have huge ripple effects. We are increasing our student enrollment next year. We have the new IB program. The only constant at ICS recently has been change. And Zach Aquino, with nearly a decade of experience at ICS, has an intangible, irreplaceable portfolio of student knowledge that allows him to diffuse all manner of situations in a calm, caring, and professional way. And like my colleague said, with the idea of having a new person on the ground part-time, I guess we flip the coin and hope that, well, nothing ever happens till it does, and hopefully your new security guard that does not know the students as well is there when it does. I feel frustrated, right? Because I hear a lot of talk from EDDs here at the RC talking about street data and meeting kids where they're at and having somebody that they can trust, that they can see themselves in, that can be in that interstitial space between administrator, between teacher, between in loco parentis, all the things that we're not, Zach is simultaneously. And to get rid of him would be to radically suck the life out of our school. He is a very comforting and important presence in our school. Last year, I asked you respectfully to keep Zach Aquino for his student safety and stability. This year, I'm telling you, keep our family together at ICS. Keep us together.
The next speaker is Jennifer Ann.
All right, I'm going to cut my speech short because my colleagues Jamie and Cameron said a lot of what I was hoping to say. I should have gone first. Safety in schools does not come from occasional visits or scheduled fire drills. It comes from relationships. Safety and security come from a consistent presence, a dedicated employee who knows students, understands the school culture, and is visible throughout the day. At ICS, we have Zach Aquino. We need a full-time safety and prevention specialist. We need someone in the hallways before school, after school, during passing periods. Zach knows the students who need redirection, the students who are struggling, and the students who need a trusted adult. His office is a refuge for teenagers who need support. His contributions to ASB events, assemblies, lunch supervision, the jiu-jitsu club, the yearbook, other campus activities are essential, and that will all go away if his position is cut. The decision to dismantle something that is working at ICS appears to have been made by people far removed from our campus and our students. Please, as the Lake Washington School District website says, we are committed to safe and inclusive schools. Please honor your commitment to student safety and leave ICS alone.
The next speaker is Rashid Arabi.
Hello. I just want to start off by asking the audience, everyone who's here for Mr. Aquino, can you please stand up? Thank you. You can sit down. As vice president of the ASB at my school, they have chosen me to represent the student body. And as the student body, I'm telling you, Mr. Aquino is not only a staff member, he is part of the family. Without Mr. Aquino, we wouldn't be able to have clubs, as Ms. Ann mentioned, Jiu-Jitsu club, yearbook club, and trips that allow us to grow together. For example, last year, my school went on a trip to Utah, to Zion National Park, and Mr. Aquino, because he is a full-time security specialist at ICS, was able to chaperone. And a random camp member came up to our site and started yelling at all the students, at the teachers. And the moment he saw Mr. Aquino walk out, he scared him off. And without Mr. Aquino there, I genuinely felt fear. But because I knew he was there, I knew he was going to back us up, I was confident that no student was going to get hurt. Last Friday, as ASB, we hosted a flag football game, since we don't have a PE program. And students get pretty heated. And at the end, some students were about to get in a full-on brawl. And Mr. Aquino was right there. Before they could even get close enough to start pushing or talking to each other, he was right there between them. Without him, I would not be able to host that football match because he was the referee. When I was in middle school, I saw many fights because my school was understaffed in the security and safety department. And I was scared because my sisters go to that school. And I was afraid that the days that I couldn't go because if I was sick, that they wouldn't be safe. But when I came to ICS, Mr. Aquino was there, and he helped us all. And I was so shocked when there wasn't even a single fight. And I knew it was all because of Mr. Aquino. Thank you.
The next speaker is Lindsay Segal, who is virtual.
Yes. Volume. Oh, sorry. I was still hearing Rashid. I apologize. Let me pause this over here. Sorry. There we go. Okay. I'm advocating for full-time safety staff at each building as a fixed cost into every budget. Last year, I assumed missing information and context. This year, I'm disappointed by unmet promises, lack of rationale, and compassion. Scott Emery emailed on July 15th stating the change of decision. In paragraph 4, quote, looking ahead, the district will begin a formal review that will focus on evaluating program needs, refining guidelines and expectations, and developing a clear process for determining appropriate staffing levels. Any future changes resulting will be communicated to staff and families with an ample notice and transparency, end quote. Our school has received no other communication. I replied on 7/21 with gratitude and requesting to join the process. No response. The lack of transparency is either haphazard or cowardly to bury in the end of the year. Either leaves these schools vulnerable. Zach shared with me the summaries he was given of the SRO breakdown at the different levels. First, I'm curious how this data was calibrated among staff and how such swift, definitive decisions are made from this data alone. But the bigger issue for today is the misrepresentation of data. Investigating just the middle school numbers, on one line, it compares choice schools to the total population. That is our 224 middle school population to the district's 6,800. ICS is just 3% of that total. So yeah, the incident rates should be higher, much higher. Again, we were given no rationale or what number the district is looking at, but no number is representing a 30x in incidences. I teach middle school math, and that graph is unacceptable. What does not fit neatly in those boxes is the additional hats Zach wears due to being a smaller school. If you're choosing not to value the uniqueness of a choice school, then we probably shouldn't have them. I don't want more technology or fancy programs if the foundation of consistent safety is not met. My daughter went to Emerson. Tim is awesome. To think of one person split between 2 campuses and 5 communities with differing policies and drill schedules is impossible to fathom. Please prioritize safety by providing dedicated support at every building, every day. Thank you.
The next speaker is Zach Aquino.
Hi, I'm back, unfortunately. My name is Zach Aquino, and I'm the School Safety and Prevention Specialist at the International Community School and Community School. I'm here to speak about LWD's plans to remove me from ICS and CS and reassign me to Juanita High School, while leaving only an 8-hour shift split between ICS, CS, and Emerson next year. Community is what helps students through some of the hardest moments in their lives. Whether it's struggles at home, death of a parent or sibling, grief, mental health challenges, or simply navigating adolescence, students rely on trusted adults and strong relationships for support, stability, and safety. At this point, this is bigger than just my position. This is about how we define school safety in this district. The district is looking at lower incident numbers at choice schools and interpreting that as evidence that less support is needed. I would argue the opposite. Lower incident numbers are often evidence that prevention is working. Prevention is invisible when it works. Daily stats don't record the conflicts that were de-escalated, the students who were supported before reaching a crisis, or the situations that never became incidents because trusted adults were present. Students succeed when they feel connected to trusted adults on campus. Strong relationships and consistent support systems are not extras. They are part of what keeps schools safe and functioning well. Removing preventative support because incident numbers are low is reactive, not proactive. Safe schools and strong communities do not happen by accident. They are built through consistency, trust, and the people who show up for students every single day. This year, I was honored to receive the PTSA Outstanding Educator of the Year Award as a security officer. I believe that recognition reflects the importance of relationship-based support and trusted adults can have on students. If we truly value school safety, then we must also value the people and relationships that help create it every single day. Thank you.
The next speaker is Sharmali Yakular. Is Sharmali here in the room? I know they were signed up virtual, but I don't see online. All right, the next speaker is Afnan Dalashe. Come on up, Afnan.
So sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone. I think you heard a lot today. You think about Zach Aquino as a number, a dollar amount to cut. For us, as you heard from everyone else, we think about him as a system in ICS. He's not just a security guy. He's not a substitute, a jiu-jitsu club. He's an integral piece of support system for many students. Recently, as in PTSA, we approved a new budget to support the school. To support the school and to fill some of the gaps that is created by district policy. It's not acceptable for us as parents to stand strong with the district, with the school, while the district keep cutting costs without considering the individual needs of each school. Our kids' security is not part-time issue. Unfortunate events can happen at any moment. It's not scheduled as part-time. We all witnessed the news about the recent shooting in San Diego. Without that security guy present, so many other victims would be on that day. We would have ended up with more. Those are frightening times for Muslims, Jewish, and immigrant communities. We need more security, not less. We can't be jeopardizing security concerns with dollar amounts. This is a priority for everyone. Zach is part of ICS as a full-time human being, not just a number or a name. We need him in ICS. Thank you.
This concludes public comment. Thank you to everyone who took the time to engage with the board this evening. As we continue with the meeting, we ask that all attendees remain respectful and follow standard meeting protocols, including minimizing side conversations and keeping voices low. If you choose to leave at this time, please do so quietly and in an orderly manner so the board can continue its meeting. And again, we will be having a different public comment period later in this meeting for the surplus resolution that's on the agenda. Thank you again for your participation. The next item on the agenda is approval of the June 1st, 2026 consent agenda. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Yoakum. Superintendent Holman, will you please poll the board?
Yes, I will. Director Yoakum?
Yes.
Director Richter?
Yes.
Vice President La Liberty?
Yes.
And President Guthrie?
Yes, motion carries. Superintendent Holman, will you please review the donations?
Yes, I will. In your packet tonight, you have over $74,000 in donations coming from the Alcott, Carson, Twain, and Wilder PTSAs, from the Juanita High School Booster, from the Redmond High School Booster, and Cameron McDougall. And his is to support Private Purpose Trust for scholarships at Juanita High School. And just want to thank all of the donors, thank all of the organizations that continue to provide resource to our schools. Mr. McDougall contacted us about 2 years ago asking how can he establish a scholarship fund for students at Juanita High School. And so it's exciting to see that moving forward.
Thank you. Dr. Holman or Director Yoakum, do we have a legislative update tonight?
I have a brief update. I was invited to be a panelist at a funding forum. I believe that was last week, and it was myself, Dr. Aramaki, superintendent in Bellevue, Jolyn Berg from North Shore School District, and Marie Sullivan from, I believe she contracts with the state PTA, but she's been involved in PTA, I think, since the dawn of time. And so she's been actively involved in advocacy, and appreciated the opportunity just to share thoughts about kind of the current state of things. And I was, to be honest with you, surprised that on a beautiful sunny Wednesday evening, I don't know the exact number, but it was 5 pages of Zoom images, that many people, and so however many that was. And so it really is a springboard as we think about the next legislative session. The board saw an overview of our 26-27 budget tonight, and even with conservative budgeting practices, with an increased levy, you saw that in 4 years, we're starting to need to make substantial reductions again. And so the funding issue is significant. It affects all school districts, and so I was really appreciative to be invited to speak on behalf of yes, Lake Washington School District, but really all students in the state of Washington deserve a legislature that actually takes this seriously.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is a program update on accelerated programs. Dr. Holman.
Okay, and so excited to have Myra Arnone and her team. It looks like we're flagging Myra into the room as we speak. But you've heard from this team on a number of fronts. We had a study session earlier in the year specifically related to the identification process and how students were kind of the pathways into service. So that was kind of a very narrow scope, but that's not all they do. And so I'm excited to have the team here tonight to really share about the scope of the Accelerated Programs Department. And so while this doesn't go deep into the data, it kind of previews some of the data, but really does speak to the breadth that this team supports. And so, Myra, thank you for being here tonight with your team, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. It is quite a pleasure to be here. Not only did we ease in this beautiful year with the presentation at the beginning, and now we're easing out. And there have been so many wonderful things that have happened this year that come with their own challenges, as you know, and you have experienced. I want to thank you always, board members, cabinet members, staff, community, parents, and some students that we have in here, maybe, for the opportunity to provide an update for you on the work of Accelerated Programs. My name is Myra Arnone. I'm Director of Accelerated Programs, and I'm very grateful for tonight because we have members of our team whose work directly supports students, our families, our schools across our high-cap continuum. Tonight, I want to briefly introduce Ryan Smith, who supports K through 5, so really focusing on elementary. He is a developer and architect of our professional learning He'll be talking about that, and he collaborates very, very intimately with our elementary staff in teaching and learning, as well as other departments. Erin Fleshman supports the work of middle school. This is going to be quite an emerging work coming up. She is the leader on identification, our assessment processes, as well as manages our data systems that work to inform our decisions, the way that we provide support for all students, and ways to keep it consistent for many, many families who have lots of questions about identification. Teresa Burton, as you met, I think you met her like the first week. I think she was here. And she is just a lovely human being who supports HiCap from 9 through 12 in the high school level. So AP College Start and, AP College and the high school and Running Start have really been key for Teresa this year as we develop and become more cognizant of the things that are occurring there as we grow those programs. Britt Galen is not here tonight. She's our program psychologist, and our wonderful office team of Laura Morgan. She's our accelerated program supervisor. Amanda Olson and Carla Yamashiroya Hodges provide office support. Tonight, we'll briefly feature updates on our work this year and our hopes for the future. We'll first focus on K through 8, specifically CBS, FTQ, and middle school, as well as an overview of enrollment data and programmatic data. And then we'll shift to 9 to 12, specifically the three focus areas that, again, we've placed a lot of logistics and love into, and now we can start defining it, especially now that we have a specialist providing support, advanced placement, Running Start in college and the high school. So now I'm going to pass this off to Erin, who will review enrollment data.
Good evening, and thank you. So we're going to start off by taking a look at the identification data that we have for both the current school year 25-26 and then our projected numbers for the 26-27 school year. In the graph that you have before you, you can see on the left-hand side our total identified students. This number represents what we actively identified and those that are actively receiving services. What is not in this graph are students that have opted out of services or students at the middle school level who might be identified but not actively receiving services because they're identified in the single domain. So either just in ELA or just in math. Those numbers are not represented here because they're not actively being served at this time. So in 25-26, we had approximately 3,844 students that were identified and are being served in the current school year. This represents approximately 19% of students kindergarten through 8th grade in the district. In the projected upcoming school year, we're looking at approximately 3,715 students, which is actually an increase of about 3.5% of the current identified student population for next year. These numbers, I say projected because, as we all know, the numbers can change from day to day as far as who is attending, but also because we are still in the process of going through appeals and portfolio reviews, and so our numbers for identification may also still shift. Okay, so things to understand about why students might opt out and why that number is not representative of every student identified. And actively being served is because we have students that choose to stay in their neighborhood school. So they may be identified for full-time Quest but not attend. We also have students that opt to stay in private school because they were either not identified for a service that they wanted, such as they were identified for classroom-based services but wanted full-time Quest and chose not to attend, or because they felt the decision came after a point where they could change their mind. We also have students that choose to go into choice schools. So students who may be currently in FTQ that choose to go to schools like ICS or Stella Scola for middle school. The other thing to know if you look at these is while it may look at times like numbers are shrinking in certain services, such as in FTQ or MSQ, if you look at projected numbers, you can also see that our numbers in classroom-based services are rising. This is in great part due to just stronger identification practices. We are no longer looking at just one data point or 2 data points for a student, but actually looking at a need over time and looking for that consistency. You'll notice that to a degree, some of those numbers in FTQ actually shifted, and they're still being identified. They're just being identified in classroom-based services rather than in full-time Quest services. Other things to kind of know about this, as I stated, our middle school numbers aren't representative fully of every middle schooler that has been identified because we don't currently have a single domain service in middle school. We have Middle School Quest, which requires identification across both ELA and math. So students identified in the single domain do not currently have a service to go into. But don't worry, I'll be getting to that shortly. The other thing to be aware of for 25-26 is that the numbers in full-time Quest are inclusive of pull-out Quest. So when we rolled pull-out Quest into full-time Quest at the beginning of the year, that is also included in that 704 and in the 915 at middle school. The other thing to keep in mind about our identification, and I apologize for jumping back and forth, but the other thing to keep in mind is that we chose these 2 years because of the consistency in identification practices. Last year and this year is really where we started to hone in on how we are identifying students, primarily using FastBridge, SBA, and COGAT, as well as information from WIDA and WaKids. As far as private school and homeschool families are concerned, we have managed to create a similar process for those families in their referral process as we do for the internal students, and have had a similar process year over year for them to go through. This includes the multiple pathways for identification for classroom-based services, so not just identification based solely on academics, but also an academic pathway that allows for the addition of a COGAT assessment to supplement the academic data. And we have the understanding within our department, and it's one that we share with you and with our families, is that to us, services are not more meaningful because they're self-contained or provided in the general education classroom. To us, services are services, and that's why I started with our total identification numbers and not simply with our FTQ numbers or our classroom-based services. There is no hierarchy to us because we're looking at what does the student need. Okay. And so in the next part, I wanted to address some questions that we've had and some work that I'm really proud that we've done in the last few years around what we consider the environmental domain. So for our department, the environmental domain consists of students in special education, students that are currently receiving free and reduced lunch, and students that are considered multilingual. We give special consideration when we are going through this process to students that fall within this domain. You will notice that we do not include students with 504s at this time, and there is a reason for that. When we were working with cross-departmentally with special services and looking for suggestions from them on how we could consider students with 504s, and did we need to be looking at them in a different way, we were really encouraged to take their scores at face value. We were told that the students are receiving that need testing accommodations will receive them in their assessments, and that the scores are then representative of what that student is capable of at the current time. The other consideration was that 504 encompasses so many things, including and not limited to a student who broke their foot playing basketball and who now needs access to elevators and other mobility devices, or a student that might need special consideration for voice to text because of a hand injury. So due to the large things that can fall under that 504 category, when we talked to special services, the recommendation was that they did not need additional consideration beyond what we were already reviewing. To look at these numbers, we have, again, the 25-26 school year and then projected for the 26-27 school year. The numbers that you're looking at here in the green band represent approximately the number of students identified in the environmental domain. The students below that are the remaining students that are identified and receiving services. I do say again that this is an approximation because we don't have a great way of always categorizing exactly who is receiving services within these categories. Sometimes students that are in the free and reduced lunch category, because that is a privileged information, we have to work off of our Power BI tool, and sometimes that can shift during the year. But based on these numbers, you'll notice that we have approximately 6.8% of our total identified students in the current school year that also fall within that environmental domain. And then we are looking at approximately 10%, possibly a little bit higher for next year's numbers. And that, again, is representative of the moves that we've made in identification to really look at the whole student and look for that consistent practice of need over time. And I believe that's it. So we're going to welcome up Ryan.
Good evening, everybody. So after identification happens, we actually serve students in our classrooms. And so I'm going to be talking about our elementary services. The first one I'm talking about is the classroom-based services, or CBS. This was our first year for classroom-based services. We found that we needed to ask our teachers how things were going. So we sent out a survey in early spring, and we received about 150 replies from classroom teachers in elementary school. And some of their replies, we went through and we looked for the positives of implementing this service, as well as some of the areas for improvement for it as well. So you can see that some of the positives were the increased equity for students, the activities that we were able to provide to teachers for the students were engaging for those students, as well as an alignment with the strong teaching practices that teachers already know how to do in their classrooms. Where we saw some improvements or perceived areas of improvements were that teachers feel like their workload was added to because of needing to provide these services now instead of having Pull-Out Quest and K5HC teachers doing that. Another one was the desire for more curriculum-aligned resources. So the resources that we initially provided were resources that the students were getting in K5HC and Pull-Out Quest services, and so the teachers said that they want more that are aligned to their curriculum. And then the last piece was just a little bit more clear communication and expectations and guidance about what CBS services should look like in their classrooms. In order to meet those needs that the teachers are saying, we've done quite a few things over the course of the last year. One of them is the professional learning that we've provided to teachers. The first one is that we have a self-paced UDL-centered course online for how teachers can differentiate the content, the process, and the product for their students. And these courses that are online and self-paced are open for all teachers to take. So it's not just teachers that have CBS students, not just for teachers who have FTQ students. Any teacher can take these courses. We also provided a three-part series in partnership with Emily Kircher-Morris, who is the Neurodiversity podcast host. And she has a great background in the area of neurodiversity. And we had quite a few teachers attend, both from elementary and secondary. And we're looking to continue that partnership with her into the next school year as well. She did some great work on executive functioning for our students, and we really did get a lot out of her partnership with us. We also have some in-person learning on executive functioning that we provided. We went to Lakeview Elementary School this year and partnered with their entire staff learning about executive functioning. We had a great time with their staff. They really did dig in deep to the content that we were providing to them. And we've actually had 3 other principals reach out asking for us to come to their school to provide that same PD to them and their staff. Moving to our ongoing enrichment cloud refinement, one of the key things that teachers asked for was that desire for more district curriculum-aligned supports. And so we are doing that right now, as we know that we're adopting a new ELA curriculum in elementary school. And so I've been working personally with our reading specialist for elementary, making sure that I understand that curriculum and I can help to provide those supports for our teachers. And we're looking forward to updating our enrichment cloud before teachers even come back to school with those supports so that they're ready to get a hold of those as soon as they come back from summer break. We are also having some of our teachers come in to help us design some of our curricular needs or supports. So right now I'm working with our ELA TOSA and a group of our MTSS coaches as well as some of our FTQ teachers, getting their feedback about what supports could be helpful. And those supports will be available to our general education teachers who have our CBS students as well. We are also doing ongoing CBS messaging for teachers. One of the pieces of feedback through the survey that we put out was that they would like us to help with some of that messaging for both their students as well as their families. And so we helped this year with conference supports, how teachers could talk about what happens with CBS services during parent-teacher conferences. And we have also helped teachers during MTSS team meetings where they need a little bit of extra support. I've gone out and sat in those MTSS meetings to help support those teachers as well. So switching from CBS to FTQ services or full-time Quest services, we put some numbers up here on this slide because we actually have a hand in staffing for FTQ. So our department hires the teachers that are in the full-time Quest classrooms. We also work cross-departmentally with other departments like business service and transportation to make sure which school sites our FTQ classrooms will end up being each school year and how many teachers need to be at each of those sites. So for the 25-26 school year, you can see that we had about 30 teachers in our program at 9 different sites. Next year, with the slight decrease in students, we also have a decrease in our teachers, but we will remain at all 9 sites for next school year. In the program itself, we've done quite a bit of work over the last year, and in fact, that work started back in May of last school year when we started convening a work group of our FTQ teachers. We ended up with 7 FTQ teachers and myself several times before the school year got out last year, as well as over the summer. And we started looking at how we could strengthen our alignment in our program. It was the first time in about 10 years that the scope and sequence for FTQ classrooms had been looked at. So knowing that we're looking at new curriculum coming out, we needed a strong basis to start from. And so from that work group, we created an entire scope and sequence for all subject areas for all 4 of our FTQ grade levels. And teachers had that in hand as they started the school year this year. As we rolled through the school year, we continued to get feedback from our teachers. We went to every single one of our 9 school sites. We did walkthroughs of their classrooms to be able to observe what they were doing, and also sat with the teachers and got feedback from them personally about how the scope and sequence was working out for them, what areas of strength there were, as well as what areas we could improve it in. And so that's where we're going to continue that work. We have some teachers coming in actually this Thursday to help us with that. And then I'll continue to work with that over the summer as well to make sure that our teachers have an updated scope and sequence because of the new curriculum that's coming out. And I think our continued priority is just alignment amongst all of our FTQ classrooms. That way we can say programmatically, here's what we provide when your student steps into an FTQ classroom.
Okay, so we've heard about classroom-based services and FTQ, and now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Middle School Quest. So one of the joys of my job is that I get to work with some amazing teachers who, actually a couple are here tonight. Hey guys. What's been awesome about that is that I also get to have some really rich conversations with them because they often in middle school don't just teach in Middle School Quest. Often they have at least one section of general education that they are working with. And so they are working closely with their colleagues to meet the needs of their students. And one of the challenges that we have seen across the last several years is the fact that we have students in middle school who were identified for services in elementary. They were receiving K5HC services or Pull-Out Quest services. And they go up to middle school and they're no longer receiving services. I can tell you from a portfolio review standpoint, we have a lot of families that don't understand this. It's very confusing to them. And honestly, it's a disservice to our students. So it is something that we are prioritizing for next year in our work. So the beauty of that is it means we get to continue the partnerships that we have with teaching and learning, with department TOSAs, with our building administrators. It also means that we get to continue the listening sessions that we actually started last year with Redmond Middle School, inviting Myra out to hear from some of our 8th graders who will be moving up into high school this current year. And then this year they invited out both Myra, Teresa, and myself to their listening sessions. And they shared some really great ideas and things that they had experienced that we don't get a chance to see when we're just dipping in and out of classrooms. What we know is that we have approximately 400 students, give or take, in middle school currently who are not receiving services, but were when they were in elementary. We also know that next year that number goes up. So we are prioritizing continuing to work with our partners and also trying to figure out what classroom-based services can look like in middle school, because we know it's a little bit different than elementary. It's not as simple as just having one project or one thing that they're working on, because the pace in middle school is already a little bit faster. They're dealing with multiple teachers. So we really need to hear from the teachers, we need to hear from the students, we need to hear from the building administrators about what this can look like in order to make sure that we're meeting their needs. We also want to make sure that we are continuing to partner with teaching and learning on the new curriculums that are coming in. So the new math curriculum for middle school will also be implemented in all of our MSQ 6th grade math classes. And the algebra and geometry that most of our middle school Quest students go into in 7th and 8th grade will be part of this new curriculum as well. So we want to make sure that we're able to support our teachers in meeting the needs of their highly capable students and their general education students who may not be identified formally, but who may need that additional support to extend their and enrich their learning.
I think that's a very nice way to put all of the changes that have been happening these last at least 4 years that I've been here. And, you know, that's the evolution of a program. The design of the program and changes to that design mean change. It may mean change in enrollment, it may mean change in alignment or other services. And I know you've heard, I think, sometimes, you know, we're thinking so much about the system, we have to remember there's a student there that's being transported or receiving a particular experience that is at the root of all of this. And that's where our service should be coming from. That being said, right, we have to balance all of the interests as well as the fact that it is still a program. So here I just briefly wanted to note that you probably hear a lot about our families who have been impacted by changes in location, shifts in services, their teachers that have been changed, and this is part of that responsibility that we have to not only the students that we serve, but keeping the program healthy and also balanced when we're looking at general ed classrooms too. So each year we take a look at these numbers and think, you know, what is best for students and also what is something that we can create that is sustainable in line with our practices in every single general education classroom as best we can, align staffing and all of the other logistics like transportation. And in some ways this year we had to reconsider sunset years for some schools. So we ended up thinking, what is the best way to support students in this way, and what do we have to consider when we are taking that position? But really it comes down to balancing program sustainability and supporting students. And we do believe that, like Erin had mentioned, when there is a few years of stability, it will become even more stable as the future comes by. There's always the ability to tweak something, the ability to support and always listen to feedback. But I do believe we're at the crest, actually, of some future stability, and that includes the program design and where students are located logistically. So now I'm going to move over to high school services.
Good evening. I wanted to say that this has just been an incredible journey to embark into the high school space for our team. And, for our AP, College in the High School and Running Start programs, they serve as a critical component of our district's commitment to expanding multiple pathways that prepare our students for post-secondary success. And these services directly align with our FTQ and CBS frameworks by ensuring that every learner, regardless of background, has access to rigorous, relevant, and future-focused academic opportunities. And so with that said, we have just finished with a very exciting adventure called Advanced Placement Testing, and it has been a really exciting 3 weeks. We have, I should back up for a moment. We have some really amazing classes, and we are doing some really incredible expansions with those classes in our high schools. Over the past few years, you'll notice that we have some new courses. We've had AP Computer Science Principles, AP Pre-Calculus, AP African American Studies, AP English Seminar, and next year we're going to be doing AP Business with Personal Finance through our CTE pathway. And this is going to be something I'll talk a little bit more on because College Board and our district and what we're kind of starting to see through our programs and our partnership with CTE and Teaching and Learning are opportunities for our students who have historically not seen themselves as AP students or who have not seen themselves as AP teachers are starting to connect with some of these courses and give themselves that challenge and that rigor. And we're trying to create as much accessibility in that area as possible for all students. Right here, we have had some exciting things with our testing. As we look over the past few years and from our spring 2024 through our current year, we have seen a lot of growth in the number of students who have been taking the AP tests, the number of exams administered. We have seen a lot of growth, and of course, the number of exams that we are getting with qualifying scores. And qualifying scores for our AP tests are going to be a 3, 4, or 5. It is from a 5-point scale. There has definitely been a lot of participation in this. We also have seen a lot of growth again in those exams administered and strong performance in those tests. If we look over here, we have a number of amazing growth from 2021 all the way through 2025, and we are waiting for those numbers from this year as well. But one of the big benefits for a lot of our students, besides that rigor in our classes, besides those amazing opportunities for challenging themselves in the classroom, is potentially getting college credit from these tests. And in order to get college credits, they need those qualifying scores of either a 3, 4, or 5, and depending on universities and colleges, those can be different. And what we've seen across time is that we have seen a number of students taking the exam and just growth in how many students are receiving those qualifying scores. So we're seeing that our students are working really hard. Our teachers are creating amazing experiences for our students, and this has just been a really fantastic opportunity. And we do know that this number has grown with a number of participants for this year in our AP tests. This is a slide I'm very excited to talk about as well. We have our students who receive free and reduced lunch and students who receive accommodations taking our AP tests and exams. And I want to first look at our students with free and reduced lunch and talk a little bit about this because we've had some important changes coming from the state that have happened. So historically, the state has provided funds for AP fees for our students with free and reduced lunch, and they've paid for some of those exams and helped students with that, and that is no longer a source of funding. It was not a source of funding for us this year. Luckily, however, kind of at the 11th hour, right before we took our AP tests, they did send out messaging that they were going to provide a grant for schools, and we happened to receive that grant for ourselves for $25,000 to help recoup the cost for those students on receiving free and reduced lunch to take those tests. So that was a really big win. However, we are not quite sure yet as to what that looks like for next year. So we're still waiting to hear what that's going to look like and preparing for that for ourselves in our department. We do see that there has been growth from the number of students receiving free and reduced lunch, participating in AP testing, the number of tests they're taking as well. So that's been a really positive thing, and we're seeing that accessibility, those opportunities are continuing to grow, and we want to foster that as much as possible. For our students with accommodation, these numbers are very exciting for us. We have a lot of students on accommodations coming in and out. We host that here at the RC, so it is an exciting fifth school that we are kind of participating in this time, and the students are wonderful, and we get to really recognize some really wonderful faces. If you look at these numbers, you will see that there's kind of a decrease, and there's a couple of reasons for that as well. There's a little bit of variability. So these numbers are specifically from the RC, the students that came here. There are other numbers too of students who received accommodations that were given at the schools. There are also students who decided to waive their accommodations and try the test without. And we have also those students who were waiting to see if they receive those accommodations because College Board approves accommodations all the way through AP testing. As you imagine, it might be a little exciting for us to kind of pivot in those moments, but some of our students, have just been waiting for those accommodations. So the numbers are, again, a little flexible, and we can kind of look a little bit more into that as well. This whole process takes over a year. We start in August. As soon as we get here, planning and building out everything that we're doing for the year. In fact, this week, we are going to be meeting and talking about our plans for AP for next year, looking at the things that worked really well, the things that we might want to grow on and revise for next year. And we start planning because this is quite an undertaking. We are the largest testing site in the state and potentially the region. And so we are doing a lot of work here at Lake Washington. There's a lot of great work, but it does take a lot of people to come together. We have an incredible team, not only the people who are represented here, but Laura Morgan, Amanda Olson, Carla Hedges. They are doing some incredible logistical work in the background. We have our wonderful APCs at each of our buildings. We have over 70 proctors that come and give their time to this. We also have a lot of people at the school on the ground trying to help make sure they can navigate all of those students coming. So this does take a village, very, very truly. And we are continuing to revise and make sure that the system continues to run as smoothly as possible by making sure our proctors are trained and everyone is getting communication when they need to get that communication. On to college and the high school. This is a beautiful, beautiful program as well. We have 1,919 students across our district enrolled in 18 different courses. We are currently strengthening our partnerships with our various colleagues at the college level and universities and exploring opportunities for our professors to engage with teachers and leaders, sharing insights into college level requirements, building stronger collaboration. And I know from the school sites that I've been able to visit, the counselors, the teachers, that there is a desire to start growing this program since we want to give students that opportunity for accessing potential credit and rigor in college. And then finally, we have Running Start. We have 1,057 students enrolled, and we are continuing to work with our partners over at OSPI and our college partners to ensure clarity and support for our students and teachers and all of our families in navigating changes that are kind of consistently happening in this place. But I have received amazing feedback from the students I've been able to talk to about their experience in Running Start, and we're hoping to continue fostering this amazing program.
Thank you. This is the conclusion slide, focus areas for 26-27. And I just want to highlight some of the focus areas we'll be looking at. One of them will be developing and continuing to develop professional learning and collaboration opportunities with our teachers, especially as they adopt new curriculum, as our system adopts. Second one is a big push towards CBS supports in the classroom, strengthening that after this first year, and really looking at what that model will be like in, again, collaboration with staff and administrators and school buildings in middle school. We will continue to support students with the best and most wonderful testing environment that we can support for AP testing, as well as looking at opportunities for increased access, opportunity inclusion, so that students know that anytime they are taking any of these classes, they are all welcome. We remove as many barriers as possible, and we support them completely, whether they take the test or not. So those are big things. I want to call to attention one more thing as you think about the number of students we had in about the second or third slide. That's 1 in every 5 right now. 1 in every 5 students from K through 8 have been identified for service, and it's going to increase. It's likely going to be 1 in 4 when we're looking at CBS middle school. So just keep that in mind, because these are huge undertakings, and it involves a lot of people, and it supports a lot of students. So thank you so much for your time, and you may have some questions.
Sarah.
Hi, I've taken a lot of APs. I go to Redmond High School, and I just want to say it's like really impressive how well put together it is, because I know there's so many students. And I just wanted to say something on the language APs. So this year I took AP Spanish, and my Spanish teacher, she heard that I was a student rep on the board, and she just wanted me to say that one thing that she feels is that the district doesn't provide the AP languages with enough material, because she said that she didn't have enough AP material. Like for AP Spanish, we have some listening portions and we have some conversation portions, but they use like a recording and you have to speak with it, but we had like no practice with AP, the format and anything, because my Spanish teacher said that she just wasn't receiving enough material from the district. And I can speak to you after this because I kind of have to go soon, but also she also said that we also get some recorder that we use for the language APs that you speak into. And we only got, I think our class only got like 1 or 2 days with the recorder. And then the recorder they give us in the AP test was not the same recorder that we practiced with anyways. So then we had to learn how to use them during the AP test. But it was really, like, obviously, like, a lot of students are already nervous about the AP test. And then if you have to learn how to use another recorder during the test, then it's already nerve-wracking, and it just makes it a little bit scarier. And then also, I have a lot of points, actually, but because for Redmond, our AP test was really long. It was like 4.5 hours or maybe more for AP Spanish, when it was not supposed to be that long. It was that it was taking a long time to learn it. And I don't know, and one of the proctors, I think they expected us to already know how to use these recorders. And when we didn't, I don't think they knew how to, like, explain how to use them to us. So most of the students were really confused. I know, like, we spoke with each other, like, during the passings and stuff for the exam, but maybe that's something that we can work on, like, the recorders and the materials for the AP languages. Yeah. But for all the other exams, it was really good.
I can move this over here. I want to look. Sarah, thank you so much for that feedback. That has been quite the journey with AP Spanish Lang. In fact, I actually demanded that I be the one who proctor it here for the students. I was the one, actually. So thank you so much for that feedback. We actually pursue much of this feedback with your teachers as well, but I'd love for you to just give us everything. And on top of that, AP Spanish Lang, as well as the other world languages, are changing format because College Board recognizes, like, they hear from us. They are here actually when we're testing, and they come and visit. And this has been an ongoing, nobody wants to have a student be anxious at any point in time, especially at the apex, that they, when their work will be featured through the assessment. So I really appreciate that, and our team is here listening.
Can I actually say one more thing? I just want to ask a question. Actually, I want to ask a question and say one more thing. But my question first is, like, when we have AP tests and we have like a proctor, we usually have like a main proctor, and then we have some other like teachers from our school, but I've never like met this proctor. So I'm wondering, like, are they like a College Board person, or are they like from our district is like this proctor?
If you're talking about the lead proctors and room monitors, they're called room monitors now. They used to be called just proctors in years previously. We actually hire them. Sometimes they are guest teachers, substitute teachers. Sometimes they are people from the school that this is part of their job during those few weeks. And most of them actually come from our community, and they are trained and they support, and some of them come in for one test, some of them come in for the entire 3 weeks actually, because we have late testing.
Okay, so this is just like I'm a student representative. I just want to say something for like what the majority of our students thought in our testing room. Well, the AP Spanish, we have different components. So one of the components is the long essay. And the long essay, I think it's like 55 minutes, but we only have one clock in our gym, and it's all the way across the room from all the students who are testing, and it's also barred, so it's really difficult to try to read it since it's not digital. And during the essay portion, a lot of the students wanted to know how much time they had left. It's 55 minutes. It's hard to keep track. And everyone was like raising their hand, asking the proctor. Ooh. Yeah, and the proctor told us that we had a clock in the room. So apparently she told us the time at the beginning when we started, and we were supposed to calculate it. So I know that like a lot of the students were upset about that because there was no way we could calculate it. So a lot of the students, I just decided to just like write a conclusion really fast because I wasn't sure how much time we had left. So I finished my essay, but I know a lot of students didn't get to finish their essay, and they were really upset about that. So I just want to share.
Thank you for all of that feedback. Like I mentioned, we take it and we absorb it. And from last year to this year, we actually did make some changes for AP Spanish language. And again, they're going to be so different. This test is going to be so different because of all of those challenges. Is again, one of those unique tests that are not following the digital platform. Next year it will. So hopefully we'll address your challenges, some of the ones you bring up. But also we know that there's going to be new challenges as well. So.
Other questions? I did have a question about CBS, and you were talking about how there's sort of communications, expectations, and guidance for teachers about what CBS should look like in their classrooms. What is that guidance? Because what I hear from parents is that they're not sure, too, what it should look like, what they should expect. And it's challenging, right? Because if you're sending a student to a self-contained classroom, you can see that. I think sometimes CBS may be a little bit behind the scenes. So can you speak to what the expectations are for a student who is receiving classroom-based services in terms of what they should be experiencing in their classroom?
Yeah. So we have we had the ability to support teachers towards the end of last year, really talking about what highly capable services would look like. We did it again at the very beginning of this year, training administrators on the model. We are actually looking at differentiation for students. When you're looking at FastBridge data and your students are really performing in 90th percentile or above, one needs to understand, especially in some areas of our district, we have classrooms with a lot of those students. So what would differentiation look like? So that was really the premise, the foundation for the work. And remember, we're only looking at math and we're looking at ELA, literacy. So in this year, in that preparatory phase, last year we were really taking a look at bringing in a lot of the things that POQ and K5HC had, and that we thought, well, the transition is going to be easier if people just start integrating some of those aspects. And then we found out that that's not going to happen truly. What really needs to happen and what our teachers really wanted are what is aligned with the things I already do in the classroom. So there are some aspects of Lake Washington and its system that do beautifully with differentiation of more of increased content or increased rigor in a particular way that a child needs. One of them is the use of instructional playbook. the one that we've developed as a district to note high efficiency strategies that we can use to support all students, but we must use to support some students. The other one could be UDL design in the classroom. And like Ryan mentioned, I'm going to have him step up here because he's the one who, he's the architect of, okay, so this is not happening and we're not doing full-scale project-based learning in here because it's not possible. What could we be doing with, let's say, Wonders, or in the case for next year, which is this super unique, amazing opportunity, we get to do it all together with Emerge. So that's why this year is so exciting, because we can just do it from the ground up with Emerge. And math actually has some components in there that, there's a lot more in math that we need to do, but with literacy, we get this time where we can build a foundation with everyone, including how FTQ teachers see themselves as general ed teachers and vice versa. So I'm going to bring Ryan back up here.
Yeah, so I'm just going to add a couple of nuances to what Myra said. So classroom-based services teachers, they get to decide what their students need at which point in time in the day. And so that might look like some teachers doing small group instruction or flexible grouping throughout the day, depending on the needs of the students that they see based on the data that they're collecting. They could be giving extension tasks to their students who maybe have already showed that they have a foundational knowledge of what the teacher is instructing. And so they will give those extension tasks that we have built in their enrichment site through the Curriculum Cloud. We also have enrichment projects that they can give as well. So students who maybe have already assessed out of doing a specific type of math learning, we've created projects that go along with our illustrative math curriculum. So they might be using those. They could also choose to do advanced problem solving with their students, giving their students depth of knowledge level questions 3 and 4 instead of the 1s and 2s that they might have in their curriculum. So it really does all kind of depend on what the teacher is seeing that the student has a need for as to what they provide them.
One more comment about that is that this shifts, a lot of this is belief in the classroom, who's their acknowledgement in the classroom, and that in itself is not the work of 1 year. That's many, many years of a teacher, how they see students, their identification with it, and that is going to be ongoing work. So this is not going away. It will be enriched. It will be brought again and again, just like we did with special education and ML. So this is, again, it is just a new facet of your classroom. Same kids, acknowledgement in a different way.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for presenting this evening and also for all you do for our students, because it is a lot and your team is very small and mighty. Thank you. I know it's getting late, but I do... Oh. Good. Okay. I do want to move on to our next agenda item in case we've got anybody here to give public comment on the resolution that we want to consider. I will suggest that we get through the public comment period and then take a recess and come back to actually consider the resolution. So just for board directors to know, I'm not going to hold you hostage up here. So the next item on the agenda is the public hearing, surplus of district property, Park 188, Site 44. And related resolution number 2446. Dr. Holman.
Yes, so you do have resolution 2446 in your packet tonight to consider the surplus of Site 188. As I was thinking about this, we've talked about the phases that we've gone through as a school district. The first phase that caused us to have to respond to enrollment was just that rapid growth that we experienced. We grew by, I believe it was 33% over a 10-year period. We were growing by 400 to 600 students annually. 1 year we grew by over 1,100 students. It was unprecedented growth. And what did we do to respond? We added new schools to the system, elementary, middle school, high school. We took recommendations from the long-term facility task force that anytime we rebuilt a school, that we also enlarged it anytime we were rebuilding, so that we made sure to right size for the future. We at one point in time, when we started to see this rapid enrollment growth occur, Dr. Chip Kimball at the time started a process to evaluate shifting our system from, we used to have kindergarten through 6th grade elementary schools, 7 through 9 junior highs, and 10 through 12 high schools. One way to accommodate the rapid elementary growth was to shift 6th grade from elementary to middle school. And so that automatically allowed our schools to have additional classrooms for space all across the district, essentially overnight. Wasn't quite that simple, but we also shifted to 4-year high schools at the time. To accommodate that, we had a bond measure on the ballot. It failed, and to continue that program, the community passed a 6-year capital construction levy, of which, and this is from memory, so forgive me if I miss a piece here, but to build Tesla STEM High School and to add additions at both Redmond and Eastlake High Schools. And that provided enough capacity in the system to be able to make that shift. That was rapid enrollment growth. And I can tell you, just from my work life, was managing enrollment. Every year we were doing a boundary process, even if it was to shift 100 students from one school to another. It was just like we were doing everything we could to accommodate the enrollment growth. We added portables exponentially to our system, to now we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 150. I just saw 2 taken down at Alcott. That was a pleasure. So maybe we're down to 148. But whatever it is.
162, now less 2.
There we
I
go.
guess.
There we go. But that's how we responded to it. And in 2016, we actually started to see the birth rates start to change. And when birth rates change, you don't see an overnight change in enrollment in your school district, but if that trend continues, you then start to see that trending in your schools as well. In 2019, 2020, we saw the highest enrollment in Lake Washington that we had ever experienced. And from that point until today, if you look at the, if you chart that and you put a line of best fit, it's trending downwards. And up until 2019, 2020, the projections were for us to grow to be about 36,000, 37,000 students as a school district. And so that was a different, those were different considerations that we had to make. In the midst of that, we wisely purchased Site 188 and or Site 44.
Park 188.
Park 188. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Because having 24 plus acres of buildable land in the middle of rapid enrollment growth made a lot of sense. Since that time, our projections have changed, and the demographer has been within the margin of error annually, up some, down some, but generally they told us, 5 years ago, you're going to start decreasing in enrollment. And that was right around the time that we finalized the purchase of Park 188. And we've done evaluation related to that specific site a few different times. I would say the first assessment we did for that site was, do we build Alcott Elementary on Site 44? And there, to be honest with you, there's a good rationale for why we could have built Alcott there, and there's good rationale for why we just broke ground and now active construction is occurring at the current site for Alcott. Obviously, that evaluation determined not to move forward with that concept. Around that same time, the board commissioned a study, and that study was related to a fifth comprehensive high school, because any of our comprehensive high school sites are right around 40 plus acres. To have the, I'll just say, the ancillary amenities that a comprehensive high school has, the stadium, the tennis courts, the softball field, baseball fields. Most of them have a secondary field, all-purpose field, plus a school, a theater. You know, all of those things. Multiple gymnasiums. Like, that's the comprehensive experience. And at the time, we said, well, we may need to figure out a way to cite a high school. And so we engaged in a study related to a fifth comprehensive high school on all fronts, and from academic programming to what would it actually mean related to staff, what are the costs, the operating costs to open a school, a fifth comprehensive high school, partner with Flow Analytics. What would boundaries look like for a fifth comprehensive high school? What's the right size of a high school? What do we believe about sizing of high schools in Lake Washington? So we did, I would say, an in-depth study that we reported to the board in March of 2024, I believe it was. 2025, I'm being told. And one of the things the board said was, great, and we're going to continue to evaluate this as our projections get updated. Well, we now have, again, another year of data related to our projections, and those projections really do point towards a continued downward trend. Whether they're exactly right 10 years out or they're marginally right 10 years out, the need for that fifth comprehensive high school probably doesn't make logical sense right now, even if we were to maintain our current enrollment as a school district with smaller class sizes matriculating through. And so it was determined to not move forward at that point in time with a fifth comprehensive high school. Tonight's action, or whenever the board takes action on Resolution 2446, it's not about the sale of property. To me, it's about the board doing your due diligence and maintaining your responsibility to always be thinking about the array of needs of a school system. One of those needs is evaluating the property portfolio that we have, knowing that we have data that points into the future that is different than we anticipated 6-7 years ago. But tonight isn't about selling property. Tonight is about considering the options you have, and the resolution allows you to actually evaluate those options and evaluate them legitimately. And so that's my lead into a presentation that Associate Superintendent Posthumus has to provide a little more detail related to Park 188 and the property that is in the board's packet related to surplus.
All right, thank you very much. I just have a few slides to just really provide some information about the property. So Park 188, it was purchased by the district in May of 2021. The purchase cost was $40 million. The property is approximately 25.4 acres. The graphic is a bird's eye view of the property. This slide shows the property in perspective within the district boundary. So the orange circle is what we refer to as Site 44. It's located inside the urban growth boundary. It's located east of 520 and south of Union Hill Road. This is another picture of the property, another view of the site. I just want to review the process for the board considering to surplus property. It's also outlined in the board materials. The district is required to follow the process outlined in RCW 28A 335-120. The district must publish a notice of intent to surplus or dispose of the property. A newspaper ad was published in the Daily Journal of Commerce. That was published on May 18th and May 26th. Tonight, the Board of Directors is going to hold a public hearing. That's part of the requirement. The board would then take action on a resolution. As Dr. Holman said, Resolution 2446 is included in your board materials. We did share this potential board action with our our facility advisory committee. We shared that they could come to the board meeting and provide comment or email. I did receive one email from a facility advisory member. I just received a second email 5 minutes ago. So both emails have been forwarded to the board. I'll just summarize the first email I received from a facility advisory member, and I'm just going to summarize it. They advocate to the board not to vote to surplus the property. Enrollment projections, while helpful and accurate in the short term, become less reliable in the long term. The district has specified that 40 acres are necessary for a comprehensive high school campus. Given the development within district boundaries, it's unlikely Lake Washington would ever have the opportunity to purchase a property like this again. Designating the property as surplus now increases the likelihood that the property would be sold. Retaining the property allows Lake Washington flexibility into the future if and when growth and enrollment increase again within the boundaries. The purchase of this property was celebrated as forward-thinking and strategic, and this individual would find the decision to surplus it as short-sighted. A summary of the second email I received is, this is from one of the students on our facility advisory committee. Again, just sharing that district-owned land can be very important for future student and community needs. Understanding the district follows legal procedures. I hope the board carefully considers the long-term value of the property. Lake Washington may continue to face changing needs in enrollment capacity, transportation, community growth. It may be difficult and expensive to replace later. So please make sure students, families, FAC members and stakeholders have enough opportunity to understanding the reason and provide input. So that's just a summary of the two comments that I received over email. So just the process and next steps. Once the board takes action to declare property surplus, the district can market the properties for sale and or negotiate a letter of intent to purchase. Just a reminder that detailed discussions related to any sale and purchase of property do take place in executive session with the board in order to maintain confidentiality for buyer-seller until the final agreement is executed in a public meeting. But before any sale is finalized, additional notices must be published in a newspaper. Then you have to wait 45 days after publishing. An appraiser must be retained to determine the market value of the property, and board approval of the sale must occur in a public meeting. So that really is the conclusion of the informational slides about the property and the process.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
Yeah, I, if I may, just one. I don't know if this is more properly directed to Dr. Holman or Associate Superintendent Posthumous. Did I get there? Okay. If you mumble it, you can't say it incorrectly. If the board were to adopt the resolution that's in the packet tonight, declaring the property as surplus, could you? I just want to make sure that it's clear. That's not one. That's not committing the board to selling the property, or the district for that matter. And two, under our policies, we're also not, and also what's in the words in the resolution, we're not authorizing the superintendent to go forward and sell the property if there's a price he likes. You would have to come back to the board for approval of that as well, right?
That is in the policy, but I also believe the law requires the board to authorize any sale or purchase of property.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? If not, the board will now hold a public hearing on the surplus of district property. The appropriate public notices have been published in the local newspaper, and an opportunity to submit written comments was provided. At this time, I will open the public hearing for the surplus of district property. If you wish to speak on this topic, please come to the center podium, state your name and comments. And we will open the public hearing. Please introduce yourself as well.
Two adult children who graduated from Lake Washington schools and one grandson who graduated last year from Lake Washington High School. I am here to address Park 188, Site 44, and specifically Resolution 2446. I request, kind of tagging on to the Vice President's comment, I request that the board delay approval of 2446. And I'm going to explain to you why I'm asking for that. The information that was provided in the agenda packet talks about a fifth high school, but it also talks about other purposes that the property might be useful for. And it's not clear to me that the property might not be useful for other purposes for the district. And I'm going to go on and offer some thoughts on that. Setting aside a fifth high school, because I'm not going to dispute that it's unlikely that there'll be a fifth high school, but it seems to me as if there is minimal cost to retain the property. Now, I might not understand it well enough, which would be a reason why, as a member of the Facility Advisory Committee, I'd like a chance to gnaw at that and understand if there is a cost to retain the property. But right now it seems there's not natural gas being used, there's not electricity being used, there's not water being used. It seems to me to be something to keep on hand, particularly with what's going on currently in the real estate market. I don't think now is a great time to declare property surplus. I also think that the enrollment trends, which Barbara and others have done a great job on projecting, let's let it kind of settle a little bit. And it's not costing a bunch of money to retain the property, so let's just watch and see what happens with the enrollment. Again, I'm focused on, is there a cost to retain it? I don't see that there's a cost, but I may not have been exposed to it. And if there is, I'd certainly like to understand it. I think if the district's looking to do something with the property other than dispose of it, I suggest consider leasing it. There's perhaps organizations or entities around that might like to lease it. I noted a few as I've driven in the area. You all know what they are. Amazon, FedEx, Heidelberg Materials, formerly Cadman, formerly the owner of the property, maybe landscape supply companies that want to put bark or grass or sod there. something that the property could be used for, and perhaps the district could generate some income from. Maybe UPS wants to park their holiday Christmas rental fleets over there, and the district could make a few bucks off of it. So I think it might be a revenue opportunity, and I don't see that there's a cost to retain it. Maybe other government entities are interested. Maybe the city of Redmond would like to use it for something, or perhaps King County that has a place that they park vans over on Union Hill Road. But I don't see the urgency to sell the property, and I would ask that the board delay approval of Resolution 2446, because I've heard nothing that says it needs to happen tonight. And as a member of the Facility Advisory Committee, I would like to understand it better. Thank you. Questions? Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to comment on this resolution? If not, I'm going to propose that we take a 6-minute recess and return at 9:30 to continue this agenda item. Oh, sorry. First, I'm going to close the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed. And now we are going to go to recess until 9:30. All right, we're going to continue with the agenda item. This is public hearing, surplus of district property, Park 188, and related resolution number 2446. I will now entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2446, declaring that the Park 188 property, Site 44, is no longer required for school purposes, is surplus to the district's needs, and authorizing the superintendent to proceed with and consider the sale of the property.
I will move approval of that resolution.
Second.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Yoakum that the board approves resolution number 2446, declaring that the Park 188 property, Site 44, is no longer required for school purposes, is surplus to the district's needs, and authorizing the superintendent to proceed with and consider the sale of the property. Is there any discussion? Director LaLiberty.
Sure, I'll go first. So I am comfortable with declaring this property as surplus tonight. There is no identified use for the property in any time frame that I can see. And so to be precise about what's in front of us tonight, that's why I tried to elucidate that more in a question. This isn't about authorizing a sale or letting the superintendent sell the property without further board approval. It's stating that as of today, the property isn't required and there is no identified school purpose, and then letting that process continue to play out for evaluating a possible future sale. Because this resolution today is about starting that process and not selling it, I do think there's a window between tonight and an event and a potential sale. And that in that window, I'd like to see us continue to do some of the engagement that we've heard from tonight from the community through the process with the facility advisor, with members of the facility advisory committee, both coming in tonight at 9 and staying until 9:30, and sending emails even during the meeting, and giving the community, whether it's through the facility advisory committee or some other process, a way to weigh in on not the specific sale of this property, but how the district should think about holding versus selling all of its inventory of undeveloped land. This is one of 6 to 7, I think roughly, parcels that the district has of undeveloped land, that some it's is identified as for future school use, and some is held in reserve, and some is undevelopable under current law. So I think again, just to be clear, what I'd like for the district to continue doing in this period, if this resolution is approved, is to continue to engage with the community and bring back to the board for us to fully understand what it is our community values and how the community is thinking about weighing the decision about holding versus selling all of the district's inventory of undeveloped land. Not should we sell this particular property. I think that conversation, if it gets to that point, if there is a purchase and sale agreement that's brought to the board for approval, I think that would be an opportunity to have that conversation then too, as well, through that process. And I'm sure there would be engagement. There would be an engagement at that point if that were to happen. But I would think, as we continue through this process, I think it would benefit not just this particular parcel, but for the board in general to have some more information about the community's values, and for us to try to have more conversation amongst ourselves too about how we think about and value that too. Because that's not since I've been on the board. That's not something we've had that conversation explicitly about. Why do we hold property? Why would we not hold property in reserve? So. Again, I'm comfortable moving forward with this specific resolution, and I do really appreciate the feedback we've gotten. I think what I've taken away from that feedback is that we need to continue. We need to do a little more to suss out what it is the community values with respect to have an undeveloped real estate portfolio.
Director Richter.
Just a comment at this point, or a question, discussion. I am hearing everything that everyone said. I would agree with Director LaLiberty about the importance of looping the Facility Advisory Committee in. They've been with us for a very long time, have done a lot of work on looking at our property. They made many recommendations that we followed under the guise of the task force back in the day. And so I do value their input and would love to see more of that. The thing I would say is that with flow analytics, the projections we're looking at are, one, based on kind of our current status quo, and as we have all learned, the status quo can change without you knowing it's coming. But more importantly to me is when we're looking at the flow analytics report, it's a 10-year horizon. And now this is just getting into my personal interest in demographics and such. But, you know, in the US, we're supposed to not see really shrinking population until out 2080. And so there's a lot of space where we don't know what's going to happen past 2035. And this is a very unique property. So I do feel a lot of uncertainty about this. That being said, we're not saying we're going to sell it. We're saying we want more information. This is true. I will also remind Director LaLiberty that some of those small properties are mentioned in the sustainability plan as potential sites for projects there. So there's many potential uses for our properties. All right, just wanted to put that in there too. That's what I have for right now.
I'm also supportive of considering this within, as has already been covered, the fact that this is a decision right now to surplus and not to sell. I do want to understand, I appreciate the community feedback that we've gotten so far and would love to continue hearing that, as Director LaLiberty said, during this period where sort of this limbo period, I guess, this gray area where there's not a final decision that's been made, but we have certainly, by approving this resolution, that would be a step in a particular direction, sort of off a path that we've been on for, the past 5 years or so. A couple of things that I'm thinking about with regards to this decision. First, I will say I believe the enrollment projections. I think that they make sense in the broader context, not just of Lake Washington School District or of King County or of Washington, but really the whole country. Every day in my inbox, I'm seeing different places across the country that are dealing with falling enrollment, that are dealing with just different demographic challenges. I think I've been clear on this all along. I don't see a world where suddenly we're back to actually having 36, 37, 40,000 students in this district. Just looking at the land that's here, looking at what the development looks like, what the plans, all of that together. So I do believe that we're looking at, stable to falling, maybe slightly decreasing enrollment for the foreseeable future. And then I think there's two questions that have been sticking with me, because this is, we've been talking about this property really for the whole 2.5 years. I think that I've been on the board in different capacities and sort of approaching this problem from different directions. But one of the first things I got thrown into was, when I joined, there were plans to develop Site 59, which is another one of those little white circles on the map down in Sammamish. And there was a lot of looking at, is that it's right by Eastlake High School, is that a 9th grade center, is that a choice school, what could we do with that property? And there was a lot that went through that, and to make a long story short, we don't have any current plans to develop Site 59. Because there were things that came up, considerations that the community wasn't clear on what they wanted. There was just a lot that went into that, and recognizing that it's not a simple thing to develop a property. There's really a lot that goes into that. And then, as Dr. Holman alluded to, we've spent considerable time really looking at the possibility of putting a 5th Comprehensive High School on Site 44. And have come to the conclusion there's just never been a time when it's made sense to me. But that's where we also have not heard a lot from community throughout that process. So since apparently we've gotten some people's attention, I guess I'll take this moment to ask some of the questions that have been sort of bouncing around in my head about a 5th Comprehensive High School. One question, and this is, I'm going to channel former Director Choi a little bit here, who really believed in in smaller schools, in smaller high schools specifically. So if we look at, we saw numbers today, we've got about 8,500 high schoolers in our system right now, and they're divided across 4 schools, so we're, roughly average about 2,000 students per school. Is that what our community wants, putting aside sort of, is there enough room for them for the moment? Or does our community really want to have, more like an average of 1,600, 1,500, 1,400 students in our comprehensive high schools? Because that really likely would require a 5th Comprehensive High School just to divide those students up. And I haven't heard that as a strong value. I disagreed with Director Choi on that. But I am also willing to accept that I could be wrong, that there could be a latent interest in that, and that would be some feedback that would be helpful to me to hear. And I should say too, there's different pros and cons to that. I remember, I was trying to find it earlier today, but I remember Deputy Superintendent Beebe giving a good presentation laying out sort of different high school sizes and what are those pros and cons. So that's not a simple, there's not a simple answer to that question. And then the other question that's been knocking around is just, as I said, we really haven't heard a lot of feedback on the idea of a 5th Comprehensive High School. I remember talking with community members even before I joined the board and saying there's this property that the district has purchased and is talking about this, and there wasn't a lot of awareness of that. So I haven't heard a strong feeling from our community that that's really something that they want to look into or value. And there is a lengthy report out there that's relatively recent looking at that. So I would love to hear, in this limbo period, if there are strong opinions about that, because those are the sorts of things that would make me think about. There's always an opportunity cost to holding onto a property. There's some cost there. And if the cost of selling outweighs that opportunity cost, then we shouldn't sell. And if the cost of selling does not outweigh that opportunity cost, then we should sell. Sorry, if the opportunity cost outweighs the cost of sell. Thank you. It's late. And that's where understanding before we come to that moment of actually talking about selling, if that moment comes, because that's not a certainty. That's where hearing more from community, that's what I would really value to hear about. Director Yoakum.
So I wasn't going to say anything, but I think kind of following up what you said and kind of hearing the comment and reading some of the emails, we've been looking at this when we talk about property, it's about, a 5th Comprehensive High School. So looking at other potential purposes, right, for that and how that was brought up tonight. And I know that's not what we're talking about tonight, but I think just having this conversation exposes this to the community. And so very much in line with what Director Liberty is saying is how this isn't to sell the property, but really I think what this exposes to me is the need for engagement with community in one way or another, whether it's a committee or who knows what else. So I really appreciate that being elevated from this discussion.
Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a first reading of OE10. I would like to suggest that we postpone this agenda item to our next meeting. Is there a motion to postpone a first reading of OE10 until our next meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it has been moved by Director Liberty and seconded by Director Richter. Is there any discussion?
No.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. So we'll move OE10 first read to the next board meeting. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent report. Dr. Holman.
Okay, so deviating a little bit from surplus of property, I had the honor and the privilege to attend and spend some time at one of our WANC classes that's located at Bellevue High School, their baking and pastry program. They were holding their final exams related to desserts, and they needed individuals to come in and do some level of judging and feedback, and I fell on my sword and said that I would do that. But no, honestly, it truly was a privilege, and so I want to share the experience with you, but I also want to talk about our Skills Center programs, because our Skills Center programs are so unique. They provide such unique opportunities for kids, and the baking and pastry class, it opened maybe 4 years ago, and it, like all of our Skills Center classes, it's a 3-period course where students earn 3 full credits, and it's in a 3-period block. This course is AM at Bothell High School, and you can see there all of the different things that they learn to make. And I was talking to the instructor, and just to try and understand like what are the students working on, like what skills do they come with, and she was indicating that she teaches culinary in the afternoons, and that it's she always recommends that students take her culinary class before baking and pastry if they can, because it's like foundational skills, because entering in baking, she said it's just you like hit the ground running. And so save that thought for later, because it does come back around. It's about engaging learning, but it's also about our student profile. What are the experiences and outcomes that we're seeking for our students? So I went through our student profile, and just like what were students engaged with, and what was being expressed through what I experienced. And so when I think about creative solutions and expressions, students had to take calculated risks. Like they were putting their best product forward to be judged by individuals from the outside, both in writing and scoring, expressing yourself creatively. Each dessert that I show you tonight, you will see the art that these students engaged in. Analysis and critical thinking, the amount of information that students have to synthesize to be able to develop this end product. One of the young people produced a dessert that was gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, and you would never have known it. That is high skill to be able to do that, and I put that in my feedback. Because to do that and have it compete with others that have more, I'll say, typical ingredients was remarkable. evaluating information and perspective. Like they have done tasting, they've had peer evaluations, they've evaluated each other. Effective communication, not only in the presentation of their dessert, but they also did a write-up for each of their desserts. They named their dessert, they talked about it. And then social awareness, collaborating and embracing shared leadership. And while they were individual desserts, all throughout the class, you could see the students asking each other questions, helping each other out. Let me get that for you. Let me carry these dishes over to the sink. Let me help you clean them. So it really was a very collaborative environment. And so just really, invigorating to watch the young people. There was a baking and pastry instructor from Edmonds Community College, and I asked, "What do you see in the classroom right now?" Because when someone knows something in depth, they see things differently, and so it was just interesting to hear kind of what she saw in the classroom, what was occurring, the things she saw that were advanced, the things that she said, "Oh yeah, those are high schoolers," and it was really interesting. There was a local ice cream shop owner that was there. Everybody knew her except for me, but so she was well known in Bothell High School. A former student came back. There was staff members from the school that were there judging, and so just really engaging. And so all of these pictures are pictures I took, and so you can see here the students, they worked, so they knew what they wanted to create, and then they had to create it and serve it between 9:30 and 11:30 on Friday. So that was their challenge, and so some of them had some things that they had worked on ahead of time, but the majority of the development was on this date. And so you can see here a very clean kitchen. You can see the students individually working, but in close proximity. In that middle picture, you can see a student talking with another student, and one of the things that was pointed out is you're not required to wear gloves. But if you don't wear gloves, you're required to know how to wash your hands. You're required to know how to handle food. And so that was something, I'm not sure I would have picked up on that, but it was interesting. And this truly was a performance task with assessment and feedback. And we were asked to numerically judge appearance. Let me see if I can come up with this. Appearance, plating, so the use of the plate, and kind of overall innovation. And so those were the pieces that were disconnected from the actual eating of the product. And then it was taste and texture. And then written comments. And so there wasn't a rubric. It was just from your perspective, what feedback do you have related to this? And so I'll go through a few pictures so you can see the different desserts. And so one bite of each. No more than that, because that would have put me over the edge. But you can see just an array of different types of desserts. In the upper right-hand corner, that was the gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free. The one on the bottom left, it was almost a chilled dessert, where the one, the second one from the left, if you love chocolate, there was a depth of chocolate there that was interesting. And then I didn't get the picture in time before someone got to that the third one there, and so and then here you can see on the left, you can see there's a curled chocolate. Well, the young person that did the curled chocolate, they used so much masking tape. to keep it curled, because at a certain temperature it will move, and then you have to keep it in place. And so using masking tape to keep it there. And then on the far right, I really enjoyed the one on the right because it engaged the senses. You take one bite and it's sweet, then the sour hits, and then the fire hits. And so that it was a really unique dessert. Again, you can see here kids working. You can see a couple more desserts. That was the top one there is a chilled dessert. It almost looked like a brain, but it was so good. And I don't remember what the one on the bottom was called, but it was the texture, the various textures you have there was tremendous. And so, and then, I was a judge, so I can judge. These were two of my favorite here. The one on the right, you can see it's a bowl of chocolate. Well, the way she got the bowl was she dipped a balloon in chocolate and then chilled it, popped the balloon, and then magic happens. And then you all know my affinity for coffee. The one on the left, it truly was an espresso. The frosting was a light coffee flavored with chocolate cake underneath. And my comment to that was it was truly menu ready. I mean, it was phenomenal. And so the kids just did such a great job, and you could see why these classes are so engaging. The diligence, the effort, the time. And so we all tried to match that with the feedback we gave. I have not handwritten that much in a really long time, but for each of these, we all filled out feedback sheets, and then they were going to go through it and kind of almost write a reflection about what they learned from the feedback. So really impressive, and I said, send me an email and I'll come back next year and judge. So anyways, it was really engaging, and really appreciate our Skill Center programs that have the array of experiences for our kids.
Thank you for making us all hungry. It's been a while since dinner. The next item on the agenda is school visits and community affairs. This portion of the business meeting of the board is an opportunity for any board members to inform and provide updates from school visits or from organizations or groups they engage with on behalf of LWSD. Are there any updates from the board? Director Richter.
I have two things in this section. One is let's see, they happened on the same day, so I'll go in alphabetical order, I guess. Alcott groundbreaking. I was able to go to the Alcott groundbreaking on the 27th. As someone whose kids went through Alcott, that was a very interesting experience. A lot of excitement, a little bit of bittersweet. Go around, talk to the staff. There's just like a lot of memories in that building for us. But then when I think of the new building being built, it's the same people, the same community are going to be there, but in a much better space, which I'll get to when we get to committee updates. I have something on that too. So yeah, it was just, it was a nice day. Kids had golden shovels, spray painted. There was dirt tossed in the air. It was a very nice time, so really enjoyed that. And also a thank you to the voters who approved the levy that makes that possible. Very important. Knew I wanted to add something. The second thing, same day actually, on the 27th, I got an invite to go next door actually to the Tesla STEM High School. They had a sustainability town hall after school, and they had representatives in a way from each of the major cities. They had Hannah Jungren, our sustainability, whatever her title is now, it's changed, I can't remember it now. PSE reps, they had Recology there, and then a lot of students. Like, this room was packed with students who were very engaged, wanted to talk to adults, and there was a really great conversation. And of course, I cannot forget sustainability ambassadors. Peter Donaldson Company are very engaged in this conversation with high schools across the district. So I wanted to tout their sustainability plan. You can find a copy of this online as well. Climate action plan, excuse me. But it's got some nice graphs and projects, and you can go through. They talk about the different impacts of certain things at their school that they've measured, suggestions for how we can all do better together. And it was an absolutely amazing experience. And I just want to do as good as these kids at getting us all together to work on climate. So that's my soapbox for the evening. And yeah, it was just a great experience with student voice centered, student perspective centered. And I think we would all do well to listen to those students as much as possible.
All right, so on May 5th, all of us, except for Director Lou Liberty, who is sadly not feeling well, had a school visit to the Resource Center and got to see a very different side of a building that we've spent way too many late nights in. We got to go around and talk to lots of different, basically all the different departments, about 5 minutes per department. Some of us were more on time and on task than others. But we saw business services, we saw teaching and learning, technology, superintendent's office, communications, student engagement and excellence, accelerated programs, and I'm probably forgetting some in there. But yes, just a really great opportunity to go around and meet a lot of staff, some of whom are familiar faces here and some of whom were new, and it was great to hear about that. I think my favorite statistic was that Lake Washington sends more than 1 million student records to OSPI every week. That just blew my mind. So thank you, Dr. Holman, and to our other wonderful tour guide, Associate Superintendent Postumus, and to all the staff who told us about what they do. It was really great. Also, earlier in May, Director Yoakum and I traveled to Yakima on May 7th and 8th, along with 12 other board directors from across the state as part of Leadership WASDA. This is our third session, and the theme was Leading for All. It was really great to spend some time in Yakima. It's a very different world from here. We started with a visit to Hoover Elementary School, which was built in 1947 and has not really been updated since then. The community was celebrating passing a bond for the first time in 17 years, so Hoover is going to be rebuilt in the coming years, which is really exciting. Hopefully I got these calculations correct. Next year, Yakima residents will be shouldering roughly $4 per thousand of assessed value for this new bond, for their EP&O levy, just sort of for all of their operations and construction levies. And the number here in Lake Washington, I believe, is closer to about $2.50, a little bit more than that. And that's not to diminish at all the incredible investment and the incredible support that our community here shows for our schools. And it just highlights the differences in property tax base between districts and the challenges that different districts face in providing the high quality education that every single one of us wants to provide to our students. Much of what we were looking at centered on Leading for All, and specifically through professional learning communities, or PLCs. As a non-educator, I probably shouldn't admit this, but I've heard that term many times in this room, and I've sort of nodded along, and when I actually stopped and thought about it, I realized I didn't really know what that looked like. So it was really cool to get an opportunity. On the first afternoon, we actually got to sit in and watch a PLC, 5 kindergarten math teachers, mix of dual language and non-dual language, or kindergarten teachers, and they were talking about math, talking about student data, talking about what they were seeing, the different approaches that they were taking. And then on Friday, we joined Superintendent Trevor Green and his principals, all the principals from across the district, and central office staff. They were reviewing student data together and just openly discussing both challenges and bright spots. And what struck me most was just how open everybody in Yakima was. I was sitting with a principal whose school had a 4% proficiency rate on third grade math SBAs last year. And she said, if I can't stand up and talk honestly about that data in service of improving student outcomes, how can I expect my teachers to do that? There was another quote that was posted on the wall at Hoover Elementary: data is for learning, not for judging. And I know I learned a lot from our time in Yakima. Big thank you to Superintendent Green, to his board and staff, and our fearless facilitators from WASDA, Heather Curl, Amy Cast, and Rasmi Smith, for another outstanding learning opportunity. Did I miss anything? No.
No, that was great.
All right, next item on the agenda are board member committee updates. Do any board members have updates they would like to provide? Director Richter.
On May 21st, the Facility Advisory Committee met. There was a presentation on the sustainability plan from the district, and there was touching on the Juanita High School pool and locker room design. But really the highlight was the tour of Rockwell Elementary, because we were at Rockwell for the meeting. So we got to walk through the new construction site, which is, I just said I went on the Alcott tour, or went to the Alcott groundbreaking about a week later. And so it was very interesting to juxtapose the two, because Rockwell the building is up. Not all the finishes are there, but the footprint's there. Concrete is poured. You can walk through the hallways and see the space and see how great it's going to be. And then you go back into Rockwell, and it's the same footprint as our Smith, our Alcott, or, that footprint that a lot of our elementaries are. And it was very moving to see how much better this space is going to be. And then going to Alcott and seeing it at the other end of the process, where the wall, like the plywood wall between where the kids are going to be playing and then where the construction's going on has been erected, but they haven't put in the little windows yet where the kids are they're going to take the windows from Rockwell when they're done with them and install them in the fence so the kids can all look through and see their new school being built. And so anyway, it was very moving. Very much enjoyed the tour.
All right, and on May 21st, Director Meekhoff and I attended Community Connectors. As a reminder, this committee was originally formed to provide community input on LWSD's Community Resource Officer program, which is a mandate under state law for districts that have one of those programs. Through many conversations over the years, the members have really come to look at school safety more broadly, which includes, but is by no means limited to, the role of the CRO program in LWSD, but also many of the themes that actually our public commenters were touching on today with regards to our school safety and prevention specialists, and really what school safety means. The committee has always had a goal of taking these conversations to the wider community, and over the past, probably a year or so, has developed an engagement toolkit to guide those conversations, which is basically a series of questions that they came up with. What we did at the May 21st meeting was walk through that toolkit together, sort of pairing up and asking the questions of one another and so on, and gathering feedback on, because it became very clear, this question is not quite what we were looking for and so on. So that was a really valuable experience. There was lots of great feedback. I've forwarded the original draft of that engagement toolkit to the board, just so you can see where the original thoughts were, although that's going to be changing. That toolkit will be changing based on the feedback. And I know Scott Emery, our director of school safety, I think I got that title right. Risk and safety, thank you. Is working with staff in the schools to start to help them utilize that toolkit in the conversations that in the context of the trusted relationships they already have with students, to really start gathering student feedback on what does school safety mean to them, which we can then bring into Community Connectors next year and just continue to work on how do we provide those experiences for our students. All right. The board plans to meet next, June 22nd, 2026, with a 5 p.m. study session and a 7 p.m. board meeting. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the June 1st, 2026 board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Liberty and seconded by Director Yoakum that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 10:15 p.m.